Welcome to SB 405D Project Management. My name is Felicia Frida and Aqua, and I'll be taking you through this Unit 2, Project Cost and Procurement Management. We're going to focus our discussion in this session 2, on the nature of project cost. By the end of this session, you should be actually able to define what project cost is and explain the various types of project cost which we have as well. So one thing about project cost is that there could be direct cost or there could be indirect cost. That's one key thing to look out for. So we're saying that when it comes to direct costs, these are costs which are clearly assigned. They are clearly assigned to the aspects of the project that are generating the cost. So a typical example, all labor costs associated with workers of the project is a direct cost. All material costs associated with the project is a direct cost. So you paid wages, you paid salaries, you paid all those ones, commissions. These are all direct costs to the project. So the total labor cost for the project is actually calculated as a direct labor rate times the number of labor hours. So let's say you are having labor rate of, let's say, 1 cedi, or I think the minimum. So the minimum wage in Ghana is virtually 14.88, which is like 15 cedis. So let's just say you're paying them 15 cedis for the casual workers or the laborers. And if they're working for, let's say, 8 hours, then that means that you're going to be having 15 by 8, which gives you 120 cedis. So that's like roughly like 120 cedis per day for your average labor. So if you have like 20 of these, then it's going to be 120 times 20. That's going to give you a direct labor cost for the project. And you can use it to do per month, per week, and all those things. And you know that this is going to be different because there may be some people you pay them 15 cedis per hour. There may be some you may be paying them about maybe 100 cedis per hour, depending on their should I say expertise. If it's a laborer, the price will be lower. If it's semi-skilled, the price may be higher. But for experts or skilled people, the price may be higher. So the direct labor cost is one key variable when we're calculating the direct cost. And it's saying that indirect cost, which I made mention of, all of these are actually indirect costs. And I made mention that you have the direct and then the indirect. So when it comes to indirect, these are generally linked to the overhead of overhead and selling administration costs. So these are costs actually, it's not one particular thing which is bringing it, but it affects all the other things. So like utility, at the end of the day, the laborers would use a bit of energy, they'll use water, they'll use all those things. The electricity will not only be used at the office space, it would affect other things in there. So having water in your facility, you pay water bill. It's a utility. Using lights, whether it's heating or cooling and all those ones, those are all utilities you'd have to pay for, and they are going to cut across or be a general thing for all the things you are doing on the project. And then we're saying that other sources of indirect cost can be taxes. Our buying will take is taxes. You pay your municipal district taxes. You're going to pay even for the where you are, site permits and all those things for you to be able to do what your project. You may have to do insurance as well because things can happen. And so whatever project you're doing, you have to factor in insurance. Insurance can take in various forms. It could be insurance for the building, fire, theft, and all those ones, depending on the type of project and the type of insurance mixes you may want to go in for. Property and property repairs is also an indirect expenditure because yes, we made mention of facilities in there. Sometimes there may be some need for maintenance in there, and all of these are money you would have to account for. Then depreciation on equipment. You've bought a second-hand printer you are working with. Obviously, you'd have to, you know that it's not going to even if it's a new printer, with time it's going to depreciate. With time, you'd have to do some repairs and maintenance, and at a point you have to even sell it off to get the scrap value, and then maybe top up and buy a new one. So depreciation is also very key in there. And the health and retirement benefits of the labor force is also very important, because your project team members at a point would retire, at the point would have to be let go of, and when they are going, you're letting go of them, you should be able to compensate them and then take care of them, which is very important and is key under the HR function in project management as well. Advertising, whether you're advertising to get new people to help you out, or you're advertising for your product to sell well in the market, or you're advertising, whatever your reason is for creating more awareness about what you are doing, whether it's even for the project and its visibility, these are all costs, and they are indirect costs as well. Shipping, depending on the type of project you are doing, some projects involves you shipping things from outside the country into the country, or even shipping things from the country outside, and these are all indirect costs. Salaries, like I made mention of, are also in the sales. Yes, sales is also in there as well. So like you made mention, indirect cost usually looks at the overhead, like those cost in the factories and all those ones. And then you also have sales, selling, and then administration costs. Administration costs like the secretarial support, the sales commission, and all those things. So those ones then come to the indirect costs. So in order for you not to get confused, always keep in mind the direct cost, which is the labor cost, direct material cost, the direct how do you call it, other costs we looked up in earlier on. Yes, and then the indirect costs are mostly regarding overheads, as well as your selling and distribution costs and administration costs as well. So those are the nature of project costs. Project costs can be non-recurring costs or recurring costs. So non-recurring costs are those costs which you actually applied once at the beginning or the closure of the project. There are some costs like a laptop. If you buy it once, that is all. Or you don't have to buy a laptop every month of the project for your administrative work. And so some of these things are just one-time purchases or one-time cost, and so we call them non-recurring. So examples include preliminary market analysis. Yes, when you do your market analysis and feasibility, that is all for the project. You won't have to come back and do it anymore. Personal training and out replacement services, these are usually non-recurring. Then we have recurring costs, which are costs which actually are repetitive in nature, and so you keep doing it all through the project life cycle. Example is your labor costs, your material costs, your logistics and sales costs. Obviously, every month or week, depending on the type of personnel you have, you would have to be paying them, whether it's wages or salaries or commission. And so there's a need for you to pay virtually every week or every month, or depending on your schedule, whether it's 3 months. And these are what we call repetitive costs or recurring costs. And they, unlike the non-recurring, they are more frequent in the project life cycle as well. Other costs other costs that are associated with your project is fixed cost and then variable cost. So fixed costs are costs that do not change with respect to their usage throughout the period of the project life cycle. So example is leasing capital equipment or project hardware. These are costs that would not change. If you go for a lease, which is like 200 cedis every month for a year or something, that is their price. It's not going to change. Yes, and we have the variable cost, which actually changes within the project life cycle. And so we're saying that they can either accelerate or increase or vary throughout the project life cycle. And project variable costs are actually based on fixed rates and other variables which are actually subject to significant fluctuations. And significant fluctuations either upward or downward. So it could be good. Some of them will come down, but usually in Ghana they tend to rather go up usually. And so examples is the use of equipment. Yes, you may go and hire equipment today, 20 Ghana, and next day you tell the scaffolds have increased to this price and all those things. That is what usually happens on the ground. And we have normal costs. Normal costs are those costs which are incurred in the routine processes of working to complete the task according to the original planned schedule agreed to by the project stakeholders at the beginning of the project. So some of them actually costs which we've already foreseen and we know we need them for the day-to-day running of the project for us to be able to succeed. And so we have the normal cost and we have the expedited cost, which is actually unplanned cost. So this ones we didn't budget for, we didn't plan for it, and usually they are incurred when steps are taken to speed up the project upon completion. So typically, the typical Ghanaian project, sometimes you realize that there are some delays in there, and at the last minute, you may need the numbers to be able to complete that task within the shortest possible time. And so you may have to get more people and pay them more. You may have to get more equipment and then lease more. And all of these will tend to increase the cost in there. So that's what we call the expedited cost. These are costs we didn't really anticipate and usually happens as a result of some project delays and the need to speed up for us to be able to meet the project's completion or closure. And so in this session, we actually looked at what project cost, some variables in there, the direct, indirect, the fixed, the non-fixed, the recurrent, the non-recurrent, the normal, and then the expedited cost as well. Thank you.